The gatekeeper. The moving truck's engine rumbled behind me like a beast ready to pounce, burning gas while time slipped away. My life was packed into that truck. Every book, every pan, every piece of my new beginning. And right now, all of it was being held hostage by one woman in white slacks and oversized sunglasses. She stood at the mouth of my driveway like a checkpoint guard in a war zone, arms crossed and lips pursed into something between a smile and a sneer. A Mercedes SUV blocked the path, glittering in the sun like a middle finger. "Excuse me," she said, voice sugar-coated but sharp, "but you haven't been approved to move in." I blinked, sure I'd misheard her. "I'm sorry? You're not cleared to occupy this property," she continued, tilting her chin just so. "Willow Creek Estates requires all new residents to complete the HOA application process and be formally approved by the board. That's me." The movers behind me exchanged uncertain glances, their arms full of boxes. Sweat beaded on their brows. And mine. I took a breath, keeping my voice level. "I'm Caroline Mitchell. I closed on this house 3 days ago. Legally, everything is finalized." She didn't even glance at my outstretched hand. "Patricia Winters, HOA President." She plucked a document from her handbag with theatrical flair and handed it to me. "This is a cease and desist. You are not authorized to move in. If you attempt to do so, you'll be fined $500 per day and may face legal consequences." I scanned the paper. Official letterhead, threatening language, but sloppy. No attorney name, no county seal, just HOA jargon and intimidation. Wrong. Move, Patricia. I looked up, my patience already unraveling in the July heat. "Mrs. Winters, I specialize in property law. I'm a paralegal. This notice is nothing but an empty threat. The county reviewed HOA bylaws here 3 years ago. That vetting process, it was struck down." Her smile twisted into something harder. "That's what people like to believe. But I decide who lives here. This neighborhood has standards." Her eyes flicked to the modest couch visible through the back of the truck. Her lip curled. "You've made a mistake," she said flatly. "You're not a fit for Willow Creek Estates." A drop of sweat ran down my back. I took a single step forward. "Move your car, Patricia. My movers need access. Or I will call law enforcement and report criminal trespass." She stepped closer. "Call whoever you like. My husband plays golf with the police chief every Sunday." I didn't flinch. "Then he can explain the charges to your face." That's when the rain started. Thick, hot drops, falling faster with every second. And then, a voice behind her. "Patricia, that's enough." An older man walked up, cane, tapping against the pavement, his white shirt already spotted with rain. "Walter Simmons," he said to me, offering a hand. 37 years on this street." "Walter," Patricia snapped, spinning around, "this isn't your business." "It is when you block someone's driveway and lie about rules that no longer exist." Walter looked at me again. "She's bluffing." That policy was deemed unenforceable. The county ruled it discriminatory. "I have the minutes from the board meeting," Patricia started. "Minutes you falsified," Walter interrupted smoothly. "Just like you did for your illegal pool house." People were coming outside now. Curtains moved. Doors creaked open. Rain or not, no one wanted to miss the show. I turned to the movers. "Please tarp the truck. I need to make a call." Not to the police. To Melissa Rodriguez. She answered on the second ring. "Caroline, you okay?" "I think you need to come. Down to Willow Creek Estates." "You sure?" "She's blocking my truck and threatening fines, HOA harassment, possible housing discrimination." "Send me the address. I'll be there in 15. 14 minutes later, 2 black sedans and a sheriff's cruiser pulled to the curb. Rain poured harder. Patricia froze. Agent Rodriguez stepped out, badge out, slick black ponytail gleaming in the storm. "Patricia Winters?" "Yes," Patricia said, swallowing. "I'm Agent Rodriguez, FBI. We're investigating housing discrimination across 3 counties. Why are you preventing this resident from moving in?" It's our covenants." "Covenants that were struck down in 2022, Melissa said, already scrolling through her tablet. "Your HOA has a history of selective enforcement. We have records." Patricia paled. "That investigation was appealed." Doesn't matter. You're blocking access to a legally owned home. That's trespass. Deputy? The sheriff's deputy approached. Ma'am, you need to move your vehicle now. Patricia's composure cracked. Richard, she shrieked suddenly, spotting a man pulling into the driveway across the street. Tell them who I am. The man paused, recognized the scene, and walked silently into his house without a word. Ma'am, the deputy said more firmly. Move the car. Patricia finally got into her SUV. She reversed out of the driveway and then slammed the brakes halfway into the street, trapping the moving truck and the FBI vehicles. This is my neighborhood, she shouted through the rain. I decide. Who belongs? Then, tires screeched. She tried to speed off. Tried. The second patrol car blocked her in. She skidded into its bumper. The officers moved fast. Within seconds, she was out of the car, cuffed, wet hair clinging to her face as she screamed about her connections. No one came to save her. Melissa walked back to me, rainwater running off her jacket. Not exactly the welcome wagon you expected. Huh? She said. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Not even close. Walter hobbled over, eyes twinkling behind wire-rimmed glasses. You handled her better than most, he said. You've got backbone. I just wanted to move in. Well, Walter said, glancing around at the neighbors watching from porches and doorways. You might have just started something bigger. A woman approached, foil-covered dish in hand. Lasagna, she said, smiling. I'm Rebecca from across the street. Welcome to Willow Creek. And for the first time that day, I believed it. Rebecca's lasagna dish was still warm in my hands when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something in my gut told me to answer. Caroline Mitchell? The voice was clipped, male unfamiliar. Yes? This is Deputy Rowland. You need to be aware. Patricia Winters made bail 20 minutes ago. She's been released under conditions that include no contact with you or your property, but she was not pleased. I tightened my grip on the dish. Is she coming back? We don't think so. But considering what happened, I figured you'd rather know than wonder. The call ended. Rebecca saw my face shift. What is it? She's out, I said. Patricia's out. Rebecca didn't flinch. Of course she is. People like her always land on their feet. But she won't do anything. Not now. Not with the FBI watching. I wasn't so sure. That night I didn't sleep. Every headlight that passed the window made my heart jump. I kept the porch light on and the phone beside me. Nothing happened. Until morning. I stepped outside to grab the newspaper and stopped cold. The moving truck was still parked down the street, now half unloaded. But it wasn't the truck that got my attention. It was the message, painted in bright red on my garage door, dripping into the cracks like blood. You don't belong here. Rebecca appeared beside me a second later, her coffee forgotten in her hand. Oh my God, she whispered. I didn't answer. I was already dialing. Melissa answered on the first ring. Tell me it's not what I think it is. She vandalized my garage. Red paint, big letters. Don't touch anything. I'm calling local PD and forensics. We'll be there in 20. By the time Melissa arrived, half the neighborhood had seen it. No one spoke. No one needed to. The message spoke loud enough. The forensic techs got to work. Walter showed up, jaw clenched. She's unraveling, he muttered. This isn't about rules anymore. It's about control. Melissa nodded. This helps. It's not just a civil matter now, it's criminal intimidation. The kind that might cost her the plea deal we were negotiating. As the tech swabbed the paint, I saw Richard Barnes, the HOA vice president, walking up the street. He looked sick. There's something you need to see, he said, voice low. He led us to the community office, the small building beside the pool. He unlocked the door with trembling hands and pulled out a thick binder. She had this locked in her desk. I thought it was old meeting minutes. It's not. Melissa flipped through it. Her expression hardened. It wasn't minutes. It was a blacklist. Names, dates, notes. Next to each resident was a section labeled Targeted Action Fines, Code Violations, Anonymous Complaints. Even personal notes like, Refuse to remove rainbow flag, possible retaliation necessary. It was a playbook of control, of harassment, of revenge. Melissa looked up. This is what we needed. This is motive, pattern, and intent. She wasn't just a bad neighbor, she was running a campaign. Walter's eyes narrowed. How deep does it go? That's when Rebecca found it, tucked in the back, behind a divider. Bank records, not the public ones, private, off the books, transfers. HOA funds moved through fake vendors, many of them tying back to a single business name, Patricia's maiden name. Rebecca's voice was tight. She's been laundering HOA funds through shell companies. I stared at the page, heart pounding, and using HOA power to destroy anyone who stood in her way. Melissa's eyes met mine. Caroline, this might be bigger than just one HOA. There was a crash outside. We all jumped. Melissa reached for her holster. Stay here. She stepped out, gun drawn. I followed behind her just in time to see a figure sprinting down the sidewalk, hooded, fast. Someone had thrown a rock through my front window. The rock had a note taped to it. You think you've won, but this neighborhood is mine. Melissa radioed in backup, but I already knew. Patricia wasn't done, and she wasn't alone. Behind her mask of pearls and parties, she had built something. A network, a system, and I'd just kicked the first brick out of the wall. Let's take her whole empire down, I said to Melissa, my voice sharper than I'd ever heard it. Rebecca stepped beside me. Let's burn it to the ground. Walter nodded slowly, cane tapping like a drumbeat. Time to finish what we started. The war for Willow Creek had just begun. Melissa's phone buzzed as we stood over the shattered window. She glanced at, the screen, her face going still. You're not going to believe this, she muttered, stepping aside to take the call. Rebecca leaned closer to me, whispering, Did you see the way that runner moved? That wasn't some angry neighbor. That was trained. Before I could reply, Melissa returned. That was our financial crimes division. We traced one of Patricia's shell companies, and it links to 3 other HOAs across the county. This isn't just abuse of power. I frowned. What is it? It's organized fraud. A racket. She's been recruiting board members across neighborhoods, setting them up, controlling them, running the same game. Walter let out a low whistle. She built a suburban cartel. Melissa nodded. And Willow Creek was her headquarters. Within hours, subpoenas were flying. Rebecca cracked into old email servers. Walter provided handwritten notes he'd kept for years. One neighbor turned in a flash drive Patricia had accidentally left at their house during a meeting. On it, voice memos, conversations, threats, deals, and one that chilled me completely. Patricia's voice. Caroline Mitchell thinks she's going to fix this place, but I've survived worse than her. If she doesn't back off, I'll break her the way I broke the Millers, the way I broke Martha Simmons. I froze. Wait, I whispered. What did she just say? Walter sat down hard, his cane dropping. Martha didn't die peacefully, he said quietly. She had a stroke, but it came after Patricia publicly humiliated her at a meeting. Fined her, called her senile in front of everyone. I turned to Melissa. She didn't just manipulate people, she destroyed them. She killed this man's wife. Melissa's jaw tightened. Let's finish this. We called an emergency HOA meeting. No agenda, no formality, just truth. Every neighbor showed up. Melissa stepped to the front of the community center and played the audio clip. You could hear a pin drop. Then she laid it out. The fraud, the fake contractors, the abuse, the network of co-conspirators. Photos, documents, bank statements. When she played the last recording, Patricia laughing about owning the sheriff's golf buddies, something snapped in the room. People stood up, shouted, some cried. Then Richard Barnes walked to the front and dropped a bombshell of his own. He placed a flash drive on the table. This has the internal board chat logs. Patricia didn't just manipulate people, she blackmailed us. She had dirt on half the board, things she threatened to leak. That's why I never fought her. I stepped forward, locking eyes with the crowd. No more fear. No more secrets. This neighborhood belongs to its people, not to one woman and her lies. Rebecca stood beside me. Tonight we take it back. We voted. Patricia was permanently banned from the HOA, her name scrubbed from every record. We voted to dissolve the old bylaws and rewrite them from scratch, with public input and legal oversight. Then we made one final motion to rename the community center. Walter's voice cracked as he proposed it, the Martha Simmons Community Hall. Unanimous vote, he cried. Everyone cried. 3 days later, the FBI raided Patricia's sister's estate. She hadn't fled across the state line. She'd been running and hiding evidence. They found hard drives, passports, cash, but most damning of all, she had compiled files on over a dozen HOA presidents across the region. Her plan was to expand, to go national, turn HOAs into weapons. She had turned suburban peace into her empire, and we burned it down. Months passed. I sat on my porch, Rebecca beside me, Walter in his usual chair. Kids played in the street. Someone was repainting their mailbox, bright orange. No one cared. A couple down the block was putting up fairy lights in their trees even though it wasn't Christmas. Walter sipped his lemonade. Feels like Martha's finally at peace. Rebecca nudged me. We should update the website with the new bylaws. I already did, I said. Simple language, short sentences. She grinned. What's the new rule list say? I smiled. One line. Don't be a tyrant. We laughed. For the first time, it didn't feel like survival, it felt like life. Then Melissa called. I answered, curious. Caroline, she said, her voice low. We flipped one of Patricia's old board members. He gave us something unexpected. What is it? She wasn't just running HOA fraud. She was buying voter data from private sources, building a profile database, ethnicity, religion, political leanings. She used it to decide who got approved to move in and who got driven out. My blood ran cold. She was building more than power, Melissa continued. She was building a filter, a vision of a perfect neighborhood, pure, controlled. She paused. She wanted to build the first HOA-run gated town, fully private, no government interference, no oversight. I couldn't speak. Caroline, Melissa said, if you hadn't stopped her, she might have succeeded. I hung up and looked out at the street. It wasn't perfect. It was noisy, messy, but it was real, and it was free. Walter raised his glass without a word. I clinked mine, against it, to the day we fought back and won forever.